Hearing loss, dizziness, headaches, confusion, and neurological issues. All of these symptoms were experienced by a number of U.S. Embassy staff in Cuba, and it was never determined why. Havana syndrome, a phenomenon first reported in 2016 by staff at the U.S. Embassy in Havana, Cuba, remains an enigma shrouded in uncertainty. This cluster of unexplained symptoms has perplexed investigators, officials, and medical professionals alike. Despite extensive research and investigations, the definitive cause of Havana syndrome remains elusive. Let's explore the baffling history of Havana syndrome, examine the investigative steps taken to identify the cause, if any, and ultimately present the current state of understanding around this intriguing mystery. In late 2016, reports surfaced of U.S. Embassy personnel experiencing a range of puzzling symptoms in Havana, Cuba. These symptoms included hearing loss, dizziness, headaches, cognitive difficulties, and a variety of other neurological issues. The affected individuals claimed to have experienced sudden episodes of these ailments, often in specific locations, while others reported hearing strange noises. Numerous investigations were launched to uncover the cause of these coordinated symptoms. Early hypotheses included acoustic attacks, viral infections, and exposure to toxins. Initial findings indicated that some individuals experienced brain injuries consistent with concussions, despite no apparent traumatic event having occurred. However, the specific source of these injuries remained unknown. As Havana syndrome gained attention, governments and news outlets started to take notice. The United States government withdrew non-essential personnel from its embassy in Havana, expelled Cuban diplomats, and issued travel warnings. Similar incidents started to be reported in other countries too, raising concerns about a potential global health threat. After the incident was made public, the Cuban foreign minister accused the U.S. of lying about the incident and denied Cuban involvement in or knowledge of the cause of the health problems the diplomats experienced. Government officials and medical experts offered various theories to explain the cause. Some suggested sonic or microwave attacks, while others believed it could be related to a new form of psychological or neurological warfare. In 2020, a National Academy of Sciences report indicated that directed pulses of radio frequency energy could be a plausible explanation, but the evidence was ultimately inconclusive. But the symptoms of Havana syndrome continued, even spreading to other locations, like we mentioned. Starting in early 2018, U.S. diplomats in China began experiencing symptoms consistent with Havana syndrome. The first such incident was reported by an American diplomat in China in April 2018 at the Guangzhou consulate, the largest U.S. consulate in China. The employee reported that he had been experiencing symptoms since late 2017. Several individuals were taken to the U.S. for medical examination. In August 2021, it was reported that 2 American diplomats were evacuated from the U.S. Embassy in Hanoi, Vietnam, after incidents of Havana syndrome were reported. Also, in 2021, dozens of U.S. personnel stationed in Vienna, including diplomats, intelligence officials, and some children of U.S. employees, had Havana syndrome-like symptoms. Despite years of extensive investigation, the cause, at least publicly, of Havana syndrome remains uncertain. In January of 2022, the Central Intelligence Agency published a temporary evaluation, concluding that Havana syndrome was not the outcome of an ongoing global campaign by a hostile power. After reviewing 1,000 cases, foreign involvement was ruled out on 976 instances. Following this, in February 2022, an expert panel assembled by the Biden administration released a summarized statement dismissing stress or psychosomatic reactions as explanations for some of the Havana syndrome incidents they had reviewed. The panel suggested that radio waves could have been responsible for certain injuries sustained by CIA officers and diplomats. Simultaneously, the State Department commissioned the JSON Advisory Group to investigate the cause of the syndrome further. In February 2022, the JSON report was released by the State Department, again stating that it was unlikely for directed energy attacks to be the cause of the health incidents. So, at least at a high level, there was no threat. At least, that's what is said. In conclusion, the Havana syndrome remains a compelling mystery with, at the end of the day, no real definitive answers other than glossy statements made by the CIA and the executive branch. The US government seems to be set on this not being an attack by a foreign power, but they might just be saying this to avoid sounding weak. The unexplained symptoms explained by embassy staff in Havana, Cuba, have baffled investigators and raised concerns worldwide and continue to do so. While there are indications that directed energy or other unconventional means might be involved, the exact cause and source of Havana syndrome remains elusive. What would you do if you heard this sound while swimming in the ocean? In the 1960s, this haunting quacking sound echoed through the water. It baffled researchers and sparked countless theories for more than 5 decades. Once dubbed as the largest, still unresolved mysteries of the Southern Ocean, for years, this auditory riddle remained unsolved, leaving the scientific community both intrigued and frustrated. It all began in the early 1960s when a submarine crew started hearing the sound ring out from the deep. The sound has a frequency ranging from between 60 Hz and 100 Hz, harmonics that go all the way up to 1 kHz, and an interval of 1.6 to 3.1 seconds between each sound. There was a pattern, but why? As word spread among the scientific community, more reports of what was now called the Bioduck Quack surfaced. The sound was mainly heard during the austral winter in the Southern Ocean, off the coasts of Antarctica and Australia's west coast. It was often described as a series of pulses in a highly repetitive pattern. This quacking sound had presence in higher and lower altitudes during the winter season, which contributed to its increased mystery. The source of the Bioduck sounds, which went undiscovered for centuries, and many speculated to be coming from underwater scientific research, aliens, or even an undiscovered megaspecies, perplexed the world. That is, until 2014. A year prior, in 2013, a team of researchers were able to successfully attach acoustic tags to a pair of mink whales to better document their vocalizations. After some time of recording, and once the researchers got the sounds back, the Bioduck sound was captured on these recording devices. Notably, the team was actually present in the area of the ocean when the recording was captured and noted no other large biological life in the area, allowing them to near definitively pinpoint the sound as having come from the mink whale. But why were the whales making this quacking sound? There's still some uncertainty around it. The sound is often made near the surface by the whales largely before feeding dives, although the role of the sound remains a mystery. Some believe that it could even be related to mating for the whales. Researchers say that the discovery is actually quite significant in their ability to estimate seasonal occurrence, migration patterns, and because they can now identify mink whales through acoustics, they can actually more cost-effectively research this animal and its migratory patterns. The decades-long enigma of the Bioduck Quack was finally resolved, thanks to the unyielding efforts of curious minds and researchers. While the Bioduck Quack no longer shrouds itself in a cloak of mystery, it serves as a poignant reminder that our world is filled with countless riddles, especially in the deep ocean, waiting to be unraveled by the persistent and inquisitive mind. What else may lie in the deep? December 5th, 1872. Approximately 400 miles east of the Azores, the British brig De Gratia stumbled upon an eerie sight that would ignite one of the most enduring mysteries in maritime history. A ship, adrift in the turbulent waters, caught the attention of Captain David Morehouse and his crew. To their astonishment, it turned out to be the Mary Celeste, a vessel that had departed New York City just 8 days prior and was destined for Genoa, Italy. Bewildered by the circumstances, Captain Morehouse altered course to render aid to the drifting ship. Summoning his boarding party, Captain Morehouse ventured into the vessel. As they explored the interior, they were greeted by an unsettling scene. The ship's charts were scattered about, and personal belongings to the crew remained undisturbed in their quarters. The ship's sole lifeboat was absent, while one of its 2 pumps had been disassembled. Water, rising 3.5 feet high, swirled in the ship's hull, yet the cargo of 1,700 barrels of industrial alcohol remained mostly intact. Food and water were plentiful, but there wasn't a single soul aboard the ship. Thus began a captivating enigma. Shrouded in mystery, what had become of the 10 individuals who had embarked on the ill-fated voyage of the Mary Celeste? Over the years, the dearth of concrete evidence has fueled a myriad of speculations. Theories range from mutiny to pirate attacks, from encounters with sea monsters to the wrath of killer waterspouts. But as of recent, fresh investigations, leveraging modern maritime technology, have unearthed new theories about what may have happened to the crew of the Mary Celeste. The Mary Celeste embarked on its ill-fated journey on November 7th, 1872, carrying a crew of 7 men: Captain Benjamin Spooner Briggs, his wife Sarah, and their 2-year-old daughter Sophia. They battled harsh weather conditions for nearly 2 weeks, and the 282-ton vessel eventually reached the Azores, as evidenced by the last entry in the ship's log at 5 a.m. on November 25th. Following their encounter with the Mary Celeste, the crew of the De Gratia navigated the abandoned shipping vessel roughly 800 miles to the port of Gibraltar. A British Vice Admiralty court convened a salvage hearing, as was customary when ships were found empty, primarily tasked with determining whether the salvagers, the crew of the De Gratia, were entitled to compensation from the ship's insurers. However, the Attorney General overseeing the inquiry suspected that there was foul play and conducted an investigation. Despite 3 months of investigation and scrutiny, the court, as we have evidence of today, cited no misconduct. However, the salvagers, the crew of the De Gratia, only received 1/6 of the $46,000 insurance claim, casting doubt on the complete exoneration by officials of the crew and their wrongdoing. However, nothing is known definitively. The ship's state, intact and carrying its full cargo, appeared incompatible with pirates having overtaken the ship. One theory circulated in the 19th century alleged that the crew may have consumed the alcohol on board, which led to mutiny. However, after interviews were conducted with the descendants of the crew, this theory was ruled out. Other hypotheses by experts proposed that alcohol vapors expanding in the heat of the Azores triggered a fear of imminent explosion of the vessel, prompting them to abandon the ship. The boarding party that boarded the ship from the De Gratia found no traces of fumes and found all of the hatches closed, making experts believe this theory, too, wasn't the right answer. Abandoning a ship in open sea represents what should be the last resort for any captain or crew. But did Captain Briggs, who was commanding the Mary Celeste, issue this order? What drove him to make this decision when the ship was still seaworthy? Researchers as of recent have discovered that Captain Briggs was an experienced and respected figure within shipping circles. There were vital clues discovered within the Mary Celeste's log left by Captain Briggs. On November 25th, the ship was only 6 miles away from, and should have been within sight of, the Santa Maria Island in the Azores. Testimony from the De Gratia crew indicated that 10 days later, when they found the ship, it was approximately 400 miles east of the island. A captain of a vessel would typically order abandonment when they were within sight of land. Since Santa Maria was the last landmass for hundreds of miles, experts assumed that the crew of the Mary Celeste deserted on the morning of the 25th after the last log entry had been made. Log entries from the days prior indicate that the ship had faced rough weather and that Captain Briggs was experiencing faulty positioning equipment and was unable to pinpoint their exact location. But still, researchers don't feel like this would have been enough to prompt abandonment. The crew was never heard from again, and researchers now believe that it wasn't mutiny from the crew or an attack by pirates, but perhaps just a series of unfortunate events, the weather, the faulty equipment, mixed with failing pumps, that led the captain to be unable to assess the seaworthiness of the ship, prompting him to abandon ship. But what happened to the crew? Well, that mystery may never be solved. But given the vastness of the ocean, it's likely the answer may rest somewhere in the deep. This is Oak Island, supposed home of buried treasure and the place of various artifacts that have been found over the years. This is the mystery of Oak Island. Oak Island has long captivated the imagination of treasure hunters, history enthusiasts, and conspiracy theorists alike. Located off the coast of Nova Scotia, Canada, this enigmatic island has been at the center of numerous expeditions, each fueled by tales of riches and unsolved mysteries. While the actual history of Oak Island is fascinating, it's often overshadowed by the myths and legends that have grown around it. The most enduring mystery of Oak Island revolves around the supposed presence of hidden treasure. According to popular belief, the treasure is buried deep within the island, protected by a series of booby traps and intricate tunnels. The legend goes that the treasure was placed there by notorious pirates such as Captain Kidd or Blackbeard, or even the Knights Templar. Over the years, countless treasure hunters have descended upon the island, hoping to uncover the fabled riches. One of the most remarkable features on Oak Island is known as the Money Pit, a circular depression that has puzzled explorers for centuries. In 1795, 3 young boys discovered the pit while digging, sparking the first wave of treasure hunters to dawn upon the island. As they dug deeper, the excavators encountered layers of logs, clay, and even coconut fibers. The pit's complexity has frustrated many, as flooding and collapses have thwarted multiple attempts to reach its supposed treasure. While the legends surrounding Oak Island are enticing, separating fact from fiction can be a little challenging. The lack of tangible evidence has led some skeptics to question the existence of the treasure at all. They argue that the Money Pit could just be a natural sinkhole or a natural formation unrelated to any hidden wealth. Additionally, critics argue that the booby traps and intricate tunnels described in the legends seem far-fetched and unlikely on their base. Nonetheless, there are intriguing elements that do lend some credibility to the mysteries of Oak Island. In 1804, a team led by the Onslow Company discovered a stone tablet, known as the Money Pit inscription. The tablet contained a cryptic message that suggested the treasure indeed existed. However, its true meaning actually remains elusive, with various other interpretations of what the tablet says over the years. Another compelling find happened in 1971, when explorers discovered an ancient parchment deep underground. Known as the 90-foot stone, it contained strange symbols and hieroglyphics. Some theories suggest a connection to the Knights Templar or even ancient civilizations, again fueling the speculation about a grand conspiracy of Oak Island. As more modern technologies have been employed in recent decades, the search for answers on Oak Island has only intensified. Sophisticated equipment such as sonar, metal detectors, and even robotic cameras have been used to explore the underground chambers and tunnels. Despite these advancements, the true nature of the island's mysteries are still unsolved. Perhaps one day, the secrets of the mysterious island will finally be unveiled, or perhaps they will forever remain buried underneath the soil. This star shouldn't exist, a star that defies all known laws of astronomy and physics. This is the story of Chelyabinski's star. Also known as HD 101065, the star is a binary system located about 815 light-years from Earth. It was first discovered in the early 2000s by a team of astronomers, and it quickly became the subject of confusion, fascination, and speculation. Chelyabinski's star is unlike any other in the universe as it contains elements that shouldn't exist, including large amounts of europium and other heavy elements that are typically only found in the remnants of exploded stars or nuclear waste for split seconds. This is incredibly puzzling, as stars like Chelyabinski's star should not have formed in the presence of these elements. Based on our understanding of modern physics, it can't happen. So, what would explain the presence of these heavy elements in Chelyabinski's star? There are several theories that have been proposed, but no definitive answer has ever been found. Some scientists believe that the star may have formed from the remnants of a supernova, while others suggest that it may be the result of a collision between two stars. Another theory is that Chelyabinski's star may actually be an alien megastructure, built by an advanced extraterrestrial civilization. And while this may sound insane, it actually might better explain the presence of heavy elements based on our modern understanding of physics. This idea is based on the fact that the star's brightness and behavior are inconsistent with what we would expect from a normal star or a star that should exist. Some scientists have even suggested that the star may be surrounded by a massive cloud of dust, which could be blocking our view of the star and explaining these weird properties that we're picking up on our detectors. Finally, some theorize that if it were evidence of aliens, it could also be a nuclear waste dump of sorts, where heavy elements are disposed of in large quantities. At the end of the day, all of these theories are meant to explain the bizarre presence of uncommon elements that we're picking up on our detectors that, according to our modern understanding of physics, should not exist. Despite all of these theories and speculation, because it is 815 light-years away from Earth, we're still no closer to understanding the true nature of Chelyabinski's star. The star remains one of the most perplexing and mysterious objects in the universe, and scientists will work for what is likely many years to come to uncover its secrets. What do you think is the cause behind Chelyabinski's star?